The first idea is really like a tool that's going to do all of our research. So when we bring on a new client, we really want to understand what their goals are, but also what the market's like, what are their competitors, and how can we take all of that information and condense it into, a really long, almost Bible of all the information that is online about a client. And we sold $50,000 worth of wallpapers in the 6 months span. The things that we're doing right now is amazing. It is play, right? But the next piece is distribution. And if you can find someone that already has distribution that you can partner with, you're 10 steps ahead of the next person. It really comes down to what is the emotion that you're trying to go for when you're building this thing, and are you going to achieve it, and did you achieve it?
A lot of people are just scared today, right? And it's I spent all these years building up my design skills, building up my front-end development skills, and now AI can just do it. But I thought that was a really good take that you had, where it's not just replacing you, but it's actually increasing the quality and also your perception of quality. What would be your advice to someone who's just starting out in the world of AI?
It is scary, right, that this stuff can replace you, but it's also you also have more tools than any generation before you ever could have dreamed of to learn and to become the best version of yourself.
Also, the pizza's here. So.
Welcome to Software Slices, the show where every week we sit down with a unique guest and build a unique piece of software with them. We're your hosts, Rachel and Aman, and today we're joined by our guest, Shane Levine. Shane is the founder of Turbo Design Studio, a New York City-based product design studio that services early-stage startups. Shane, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you here today. We've been talking about this. Would love to kind of dig into some ideas. Before we start building, wanted to hear a bit more about Turbo, kind of the story, how it first got started.
Sure, yeah. So I started my career as a designer at StockX. Yeah. So I got to see the growth as an early designer there to many millions of daily active users. And I found that my skills as a designer are the most impactful for early stage startups. So I bounced around to a couple different early stage startups and eventually found that my freelance work was taking more time than my full-time job. So started Turbo in 2023, and it's been really great. We've worked with 25 startups in 2024, and we'll probably do around double that this year. So we have a small team, around 10 people in design mostly, and some ops as well. And we've worked with some really amazing clients like Ramp, WAP, even Jeep. So mostly startups, but really just helping them, ship products, reach product market fit, and do amazing design.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. And some of the ideas we're going to be exploring today are tools for you guys, internally, things that you can do to speed up your own processes and design the way that you guys work. So we'd love to hear a little bit more about those pain points that you're facing today within the company and some of the ideas that you shared with us.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple ideas that are really cool that we can now use AI to really enhance what we do and kind of build an AI layer around all of the design work that we do.
Yeah.
Right? So I know everyone's talking about AI and totally operationalizing your business. And I think being a design agency, we can take what we're good at, which is design, and use AI to do everything else. So the first idea is really a tool that's going to do all of our research. Things that it's kind of busy work, and a lot of that research is front loaded. So when we bring on a new client, we really want to understand what their goals are, but also what the market's like. What are their competitors? What kind of things do people say about them on Reddit and on App Store reviews? And how can we take all of that information and condense it into, a really long, almost Bible of all the information that is online about a client, and then really be able to parse that, ask that questions, and so that we dive right into the kickoff call with a ton of great ideas.
Awesome. So that was the main idea. So what we have here is basically version 1, one shot prompt. We generated the initial design for, it's basically a chat interface, but for storing all those products or prospects and customers that you're talking with. So we obviously aren't going to wire this up to Turbo's inbound form, but I'll ask you a couple of questions about that. later on, but we've
Cool.
got just like some dummy users. And what we're going to do is, I think, focus mostly on this research button, which will pull in a full document and research in the background to include inside of this chat. And most of that research is going to get conducted by this tool called Clay that has like a really good interface and basically tool set to go run research on some of those sources you were naming, like the App Store, Reddit, and then everything else that might come up in this session.
Mm-hmm.
How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. Yeah, Clay is a great tool for definitely prospecting and doing some research.
Are you familiar with it? Have you used it in some capacity?
Yeah, we haven't used it too much because we luckily enough we don't do too much outbound, but most of our leads come in through referrals or through the network that we've built. So yeah, I think like if we were to really think about this problem is like, okay, a new client comes to us, let's say Replit comes, and they're like, hey, we want you to redesign the IDE on web for AI. It's like, okay, well, we haven't been working on web IDEs for the past 6 months, so we need to figure out like what are all the different problems that people are saying that they don't like about it, or like what's kind of new in the industry that they could probably implement pretty quickly and need to think about the design implementation of that stuff. So it's it is kind of user focused things, but it's also just like holistic kind of how do we become a product expert in an instant, and that like can take hours, right? It could be like, okay, go do research and like find out the history of the business and figure out, okay, like what kind of goals did they have? Are they like growing, or is it kind of like stabilizing? So it might be like kind of more businessy stuff too, like revenue and users and stuff like that. But it could also be stuff that is more design focused, like, oh, have they made a big design change recently? So I think it could be all types of different information that we're looking at. So having a tool like this could be crucial.
Cool.
Nice. What does it pull in right now? Like what types of data can you grab?
As of now, it's a very generic. So it's basically going to take in the email address of someone. So that was one of the main things I wanted to ask you is like, what pieces of information do you have on the referral, the lead? Are they coming in through an inbound form? It sounds like a lot of it's like DMs, like word of mouth, like hear about someone. Yeah,
so we have like a little bit of information that we'll get from our sales calls. Mm-hmm. What their goals are, what the company is, the size, stuff like that. And then once they like actually sign on, they'll send us information through our onboarding form. So we'll ask things like, what are your design goals? Like, what is your business? What are like things that you're building towards? What are your how do you measure success with design, stuff like that? And they can kind of go through like different projects they're looking to work on, and we can take all of that information and put it into a research tool to do some some digging.
Yeah. What fields on the person do you have? Like, is it company website, email address of the main lead? Kind of give me that sense. Yeah.
So we have company, like name of the person. Mm-hmm. Okay. So maybe we could go off like LinkedIn. I don't know. We have their email address. We have the company name. We don't really ask the website because like it's kind of, should be kind of unexpected to find it, but yeah, I think we could probably pull a lot with that stuff, right?
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's exactly. Mainly just asking for the flow. Currently, the webhook expects like email and company name, so perfect. Okay. We got those, and from the email, it's going to be able to grab LinkedIn profile of the person, so you'll get like a huge chunk of like their LinkedIn information if that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
And then using the company name, it'll go and find the company domain, and then use the company domain to then go do research. And the two pieces of research are recent positive reviews and recent negative reviews.
Oh, cool.
We can start with those. Right now it's not focused on any particular source, but then obviously we can add different columns for specifically the App Store, specifically Reddit, etc. Does that sound good? Start with just a generic positive and negative.
I think that sounds perfect. That would be great.
Can we try it?
Yeah.
Let's rip it.
Is it a test company?
Actually, it's not wired up. I do have to prompt it. So we could start that with the first prompt.
Yeah.
Do you have any qualms? I know you're an expert in design. Is there any maybe we could focus on it later, but is there any key call outs on the current like iteration of it that's just like
Do you want to open it?
We've got a little bit of layout issues with the top bar, but I'm
not sure why I chose to do that. Yeah.
I think from a, when we're doing this kind of like work, it's okay if it doesn't look great.
It's like
you know what I mean? It's an internal it's an internal tool anyway. Yeah. And we hope that our internal tools are as good as the products that we build, but this is just the beginning, right?
Yeah. V1.
We can leave the design till later and like spice things up at the end. For now, I think I'm going to just connect it to the research button is going to be basically going to grab whatever prospect you have open. It's going to go pipe in their information to the Clay endpoint. So I'm just going to tell it that.
Cool.
All right, so I'm just going to tell it, pause it right there. Okay, now when we click the research button, I want you to send the current open prospect information as a JSON over to this webhook endpoint. And then just tell it this webhook and then point it to the button, and then we'll let it cook for a little bit.
Nice. Once it starts working, we should try it with Vita Coco as a sample company.
Oh yeah,
sample company.
See if it works, so we can get sponsored by them one day. All right, while it's cooking, we're gonna ask you some questions. First thing, one of your most viral kind of ventures was the iPod.
Yeah.
The iPod background.
Okay.
And I know like we've also worked on like a bunch of random like small fun projects in the past. I'm curious like how important play is in your design process and just like making things for fun, because that seems like something that started out as like a fun kind of experiment.
Absolutely.
But then ended up shaping into something like that was real and like substantial and revenue generating, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm curious just like how do you balance like play and fun in your design process?
I think that's such a great way to like start the question, because like play is something that is really such an important piece of any like highly creative field. People always say like, oh, I'm not a designer or I'm not creative. Yeah. But like go to like a 5-year-old, like any 5-year-old.
Yeah.
They're creative. Like what happened? Like, you know?
Exactly.
And I think it's play, and that's really what it is. So I try to spend a little bit of time, at least every week, trying to just play with new tools, play with ideas, play with posts on social media, right? Post memes. I think that's play.
Yeah.
You know, do things that are funny. And so I'll tell the story about the iPod where I saw someone posted a wallpaper of a Game Boy, and it looked like perfectly like a Game Boy, that I had it on my desk when I worked in person, and someone came by and said, "What is that?" And I was like, "That's my iPhone." Like, they didn't even recognize it. So I was like, okay, there's something here. It looks like so different that they didn't even recognize it was an iPhone. And so I thought about like what I was nostalgic about. Greg Eisenberg has this great quote that nostalgia is a drug. It's like the best drug.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. Like if you think about like the toys you played with when you were a kid, or like the smells, or like the candy you ate, like it does give you some feeling that you like, you know, feels good. And so the iPod for me was that. It's like I remember getting my first iPod when I was like a teenager for Hanukkah, and like that was insane. I put like all of like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody on it, and so I mocked it up. I had to like tweak it a couple times. I kept like exporting it, making the background, changing it, exporting it until I like got just right, so where the dimensions fit like the lock screen, and then I just put a bunch of stickers on it from like things I liked when I was that age. So like I got like Rockstar Games. I was a big fan of GTA. I put a bunch of like different artist logos and band logos and made them stickers, and I made it look like, you know, you dropped the thing over a few years and it was all scratched up too. Here, I think I have it on my phone. I can show you guys.
Yeah, it's so
nice.
So yeah, you can kind of see.
We can put up a screenshot of it too later.
Yeah.
Later, yeah.
So yeah, and I thought it was really cool, and it was.
Yeah.
And so I put it on Twitter, and it got like a ton of likes and a ton of views, and I was like, oh wait, I could like sell these. So I put them up on Gumroad, and then a really well-known YouTuber was like, hey, like this is amazing. And I was like, why don't we put them on your channel? And so we did, and we sold $50,000 worth of wallpapers in the 6 months span. So yeah, pretty insane. I think it was the best wallpaper collection he's ever had. He also sells a bunch of wallpapers, so it wasn't like a new thing for him. And that was partly why I was so successful. But that's like the later part that I realized is like the things that we're doing right now is amazing. It is play, right? But the next piece is distribution. And if you can find someone that already has distribution that you can partner with, you're 10 steps ahead of the next person, right? So that was kind of learning there is like, this stuff is awesome, but we need to find distribution for the things that we do, because it makes the biggest difference. So
Totally. Have you tried to replicate that experience? Have you made any other
digital
products? I feel like once you have that high of selling.
Yeah, that was crazy. I haven't nothing's come that close yet. But I will say, like, everyone's chasing passive income. Yeah, wallpapers is the closest thing to passive income.
Yeah, everyone was hating on MKBHD for launching that wallpaper business, but maybe it was onto something if it's
true. Yeah. No, I haven't done much. I think like there's this app in the App Store called Delta that is like it's like a Game Boy emulator, so you can play games if you guys want to play like, you know, Mario or Pokemon on the subway.
Yeah, I think I've used that one before.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
How we looking?
So I was just while we were just chatting, I think I got it. I just had to reprompt it to add like security headers so that it properly calls it. But look like we're getting
Zoom in a bit.
Sure thing. So
Nice.
Yeah. Sweet.
So this is basically here we go.
So what do you guys do when you hit an error?
You tell it to fix it.
Fix it. Please fix it.
And so yeah, it looks like it went and got this John Smith, and I think Acme Corp is such a well-used domain that it actually found.
Pulled an
I
actual
wonder
person.
what LinkedIn profile it pulled up. Who's John Smith from Acme Corp?
Oh, wow.
No way.
Oh,
Real
we went
person.
to the same college.
He went,
I might know him.
and he's from the town like 10 minutes from me, from where
What?
I'm from.
That's kind of creepy.
We got a little connection here.
There's no way that guy exists.
No, I know.
I mean,
Those are some ironic points. Anyways, John Smith there.
did you set this up before the episode?
No. This
Created
is
a
like,
LinkedIn
these
account.
are our one-shot dummy data. Let's try Sarah Johnson, CTO. Let's see what happens. Oh, so that's another thing we'll probably have to hide. It's just putting dummy data for the research data. It's not actually what gets returned by Clay yet. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we're properly at least connecting to Clay. The one thing is that you mentioned that you don't collect their company domains, right?
I don't.
You
No.
just
But we could
quickly
get it from
Google
their
it.
email.
Yeah. If you wanted to spend a Clay credit on it, we could have this workflow just go and grab it so you don't have to Google search for it.
Okay.
But it's all up to you. Worth it, or is it
To get the URL.
the URL of like the company?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
I think it's fine.
So we'll clear that little company domain researcher column. We won't need that. Cool. Yeah. Maybe I'll ask so the next thing, let me see and make sure that we get, like I mentioned here, it's just showing dummy data over on the right side.
Okay.
With like this company research button. Oh, over here on the right side. This is all dummy data. I don't think it's actually what got returned because it doesn't have the product reviews. So let me go set that up and include like a test company that will actually have reviews. Does anyone come to mind, like a company that will actually have like reviews on an app store?
App Store.
Maybe like a Target.
On the App Store.
Or Reddit or anywhere.
Let's do Robinhood. They've got some great
Okay.
design, right?
That's a good one.
Okay, cool. All right, can you add a fake user that works at Robinhood so that we can test the research workflow there?
We can find a real person too. That's kind of creepy though.
That's I'd rather get. Let's see. Maybe we'll see. Maybe it gets
I got
Vlad.
the senior
Oh
man.
yeah, just get Vlad 10F.
Oh yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
I have the LinkedIn of the senior partnerships manager, but yeah, we can
Yeah.
we can.
We don't want to blow up their LinkedIn.
Yeah.
She's gonna get a whole dozens.
Yeah.
She's gonna get dozens of followers on her LinkedIn.
Yeah.
All right, we'll pick you up. But while it's going, I do want to ask, just in terms of business and writing, because you wrote about that, your foray into wallpaper and that whole story that went pretty viral. Another post that went really viral for you was your post on taste and just design taste. The main question I wanted to ask though is, it's kind of the buzzword of the past year now with AI tools. But I'm curious for you as design studio owner who manages designers who are meant to have taste, like how do you scale taste across your team?
That's a good question. It's something we're trying to figure out too. We haven't cracked that yet. But I think to me, taste is really about like, it's not like what something looks like or how it works. Really, it's really about how something feels, right? It's like the emotion that comes with using something. And if you think about like how humans make decisions, we make decisions based on emotion, and then we like justify it based on logic, right? So when you use a product that has amazing haptics and animations are beautiful, that can be great taste if it's in the right setting. But it also could be great taste if it's just like very dry, black and white, like line illustrations and nothing crazy. And that could be taste for that sort of emotion response. So I think it really comes down to like, what is the emotion that you're trying to go for when you're building this thing? And are you going to achieve it? And did you achieve it? And so like, that's, you can pretty much quantify that, right? Like you can test that, you can figure out like how it feels. But then really like deciding what you want people to feel, that's more of like a creative direction problem, right? So I think, everyone goes back to like what we were talking about with nostalgia, right? It's like, that's like an amazing feeling, a really powerful feeling that you can put into products. And like I saw they made an app, it's called like, I think 2006 camera. And it literally looks like a video camera from 2006, like just on your iPhone, right? And so it's like, that to me is, you could probably build that with an AI tool. But like the taste behind that is like the emotion that it brings. It's a very simple camera. It just, it pixelates it, and it has like a bunch of buttons on it. So I think the way you scale that is by like teaching design as like in a way to express emotion through products. And I think we're trying to do that. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Maybe you can ask this question better than I can.
Yeah.
But then what's like the process then? Is it design reviews where you ask like point blank, like what's the emotion you were going for when you did this design?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. I've never even been inside of a design crit or a design review before.
Well, yeah, I was also curious like how you manage just like creative differences across the team when you probably have your, I guess, vision or like the way you've done things in the past with the agency and like with what you're building in the studio. And then you have talented folks come in and they bring their own like sense of style and taste into it.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
yeah.
everyone does have their perspective, and I think that's where like diversity is actually so important in design, especially for like products where the target market is like not aligned with the people that are designing it. And so I think it really comes down to pairing the right designer with the project.
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot of time making sure that the projects we're working on are a good fit, not just for us as an agency, but for the designer that's going to be working on it. So that's a huge part of it. And also like as our team's growing, we've brought on a design director that's like largely leading a lot of, those kind of crits and making sure that we course correct when things go off the rails.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we did
Robinhood.
find we got Vlad,
Sweet,
but
let's go.
this is news to me. Apparently, he has this other company, Harmonic, where he's the here's the co-founder and executive chairman.
What is that?
I'm not even sure, but because it grabs latest experience, I have to switch it up to like just grab something else.
Did it find reviews about Harmonic?
Yeah, because
wow.
it grabbed. It says like latest experience, and then let me see if I can get. No, first item it'll still grab. Robinhood. Maybe.
Could you grab like whatever's related to his email, or that'd be pretty difficult?
Yeah, we could do that. Like grab the. For you, is that usually the case? Like, do they usually do business email?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's do that. Grab the business domain from email. Pop that guy in.
We can keep going while you figure this out, and then
out.
I guess we can loop back once we have Robinhood and Vlad pulling in some data. I wanted to ask you about another post that you made, which I really liked, which was about kind of designers' response to the AI wave and how people are building more apps. It was about like personal software and personal apps. And you had this really good analogy with cooking, where you're like, if more people cook at home and make food at home, you start to appreciate professional chefs and top chefs even more. And I thought that was like a really good way of framing it. Also, the pizza's here, so Horatio's gonna go grab the pizza, but we can keep going. A lot of people are just like scared today, right? And it's like, oh, I've spent all these years building up my design skills, building up my front end development skills, and now AI can just do it. But I thought that was a really good take that you had, where it's not just replacing you, but it's actually like increasing the quality and also your perception of quality. Because once you make something, you realize like, wow, Apple really spent a long time thinking about how this super basic interface works. So I'd love to hear like a little bit more about that, and also just your stance. And like, I mean, it probably is scary as like a brand new designer entering the world and seeing all these things. So what would be your like advice to someone who's just starting out in the world of AI?
Yeah. Well, first let me double down on like the cookie analogy. So I think the cool thing about all this AI tools, and I had another tweet that went kind of viral that's related here, is like vibe coding is a gateway drug to learning how to code, right? It's like, you prompt it, you get a couple errors, you keep telling it to please fix, and it's like, it's just not fixing
fix it myself.
And so you're like, okay, let me just explain what's going on here. And it's the same thing with trying to make like, a roux for like a sauce dish. And you're like, okay, like it doesn't taste quite right. Maybe I change this. Like maybe you look up how like other chefs do it. You look up recipes, and it does kind of like increase your appreciation for the craft, but also like it makes the person who sees the value in going forward and iterating and trying to like become an expert. Those people have enormous tools today that we didn't have when we were learning how to code or how to design. So I think there is like, it is scary, right, that this stuff can replace you, but it's also like you also have like more tools than any generation before you ever could have dreamed of to learn and to become the best version of yourself. So it's like you're not going away anytime soon, so you might as well take advantage of this stuff and try and become the best that you possibly can.
I love that. I love that take. It's very refreshing in like the world, which is just full of fear. We got the pizza.
Sweet.
Here we go.
Thank you so much.
We got Ruby Rosa this time.
Oh, nice.
Like classic.
Amazing. Thank you.
But no, tie-dye.
It's software slices, so we...
Oh, I got you. Thank you. Well, what do you think, Aman? What do you think about AI? Like, do you think...
Dude, I'm like blown away. Like, if you told me a year ago what would be possible today, I wouldn't really believe you. And that just makes me uncertain what will be possible a year from now. So it's really hard to even say where things will go. But I really agree with what you said, and I mean the best you can do is like adapt and learn and use the tools in the best possible way. Tools change, right? Like when I was starting out in design, the set of tools that I used then versus what I use today are very different. Mm-hmm. But also today, like if I'm starting out a project, my process is very different. Like I might go to ChatGPT and generate some images just to like set up a mood board, or I might just approach things in a different way. So yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to predict, but I think the point that it makes you appreciate craft even more is a really good one. And I'm excited for more people to create things. I think it's a really empowering and exciting experience. My sister, who's like never done this type of thing before, made like a little scheduling app for her and her family to like track who's taking care of the dog, like who's on duty, like whose turn is it to take the dog out, or like who has to fill up the food in the morning. And that type of thing is just like fun. It's like fun for the kids, it's fun for the family. So this making things more accessible and lowering that barrier is just really exciting, I think. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes back to like the play thing that you brought
exactly.
up, right? Is like it's part of playing. And I think today, like, we spend a lot of our time consuming, whether it's on TikTok or TV or, you know, just endless doom scrolling. And I think, you know, a lot of people say, oh, try to get your screen time down. Yeah. That's maybe pretty difficult for most people nowadays, right? But you can kind of think about it the other ways. Like, what if you spend less time consuming, more time creating? Yeah. And you look at like kind of the distribution of that, and I think that's like a good way to kind of reframe your time. And using stuff like Replit to do that would be perfect. Yeah. I remember we worked on what was that? We did like a random hackathon. I think at like Silly Hacks too. We like build projects. Just like those moments are just so much fun where you can just do whatever you want and like create something, and like no pressure to monetize things or build a business around it, but it's like, hey, let me just create something. And you kind of had that same excitement as like a kid like playing with Legos, where you're just building stuff and putting things together. I think like some of the best like designers I know or engineers I know, they have that in them, is like they're just constantly building, whether it's like tools for themselves or like playing with like different artistic styles or trying to like replicate design styles they see online. And when you do that, you learn so much, right? You learn like, okay, I was trying to like figure out how to do Apple liquid glass in Figma, and like it is pretty hard right now without like shaders. And they announced they're gonna put shaders in Figma, which is pretty crazy. I didn't see that. So it was just like, you know, okay, downloading a bunch of community files, like playing with them and figuring it out, and I learned a little bit about like the new features they've added, so it's cool.
I'm a complete novice when it comes to shaders and any design. But update on our flow. I just did a lot of like little, just like a recap. I just added another cell that grabs the domain, and see now it'll pull Robinhood. Nice. And so Robinhood is what gets ingested in the research for positive and negative reviews. And then these responses will come back as markdown and then get shot into the response text. So we got to test it, and then we're going to wait for it to listen and then show, where would you want the research to show up? Like once it comes back and responds. Maybe we can make it kind of cursed a little bit right now.
Maybe we can make a tab with like prospects that have been researched or something. Okay. And then you could like click and see like all the details.
Like a list view?
Yeah, that could be cool.
Okay. So remove like this chat window.
Yeah, is it a chat right now? Like, or we could was the idea that you could talk to the information, or?
Yeah, like it would research, and then over on the side, a separate window or sidebar opens with the research that was just pulled.
We could just put the research in the chat.
Yeah, in the chat.
And just pop it in.
Just as like all right, here's the research, and then you can ask it questions.
Okay, cool. All right, let's do that. I'm going to trigger it one more time, and then give it an example of a successful response so it knows like what the structure of the response is. We're going to shoot Vlad in there again.
Vlad, if you're watching, we'd love to work with you.
Yeah. Robinhood is a great app. I like it.
Yeah, they cracked the code there.
Yeah.
You know, they designed it too well. They got sued.
Yeah.
For making trading.
It's crazy how many bad finance apps there are.
Right.
Just like it's really nice and refreshing to have an app that's like enjoyable to use. So yeah, they've done something great. Have you played with any like creative tools for AI or tools that use AI?
One tool that I'm a huge fan of right now is called Flora.
Yeah.
Flora AI. They pretty close with the founders, and I got to spend some time with them, and yeah, their vision is like really big. They're trying to build like the next like kind of creative agent.
Yeah.
That can like do a lot of creative work, not just like canvas based kind of generation. But even where they are right now is pretty awesome to be able just to switch between different models, and whenever models come out, it kind of like takes a little bit of the weight off you to have to like go find it and create an account and like buy the credits. It's like it's all in one place. It's now just another line in the drop down. You change it and like you can make videos, you can make images, but it's really cool because you can it's all like noodle based, right? So
yeah, I've played with it a bit.
What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's cool, and you can also like generate multiple versions of the thing, right? So you can have, I feel like that's a big part with these tools. It's like you don't really know what direction it's going to take your request in, so it's nice to be able to let it just run and like generate a few options. Like even for this, one of the other prototypes that I made, I literally did like five or six different versions just to see like, hey, if I change like a few words here, it could completely change the output.
That's actually why it got so like squared and jagged, because I put minimalist in it like 4 or 5 times, and it took it way too literally. Like I think it gave it like very vanilla CSS. Let's get the response in, and then we can come back to getting the researcher to look at like more fruitful reviews that you would find like really useful.
Sure. Amon, have you played with any like Gen UI tools?
There's like Galileo. I think they got acquired actually by Google. There's the fly. Yeah, I played with it a bit. It's interesting, like it's fast enough to generate code that I wonder if we even need to generate pixels with like diffusion and image generation, or we should just go straight to code. It is good for more like abstract things, but if you're generating an interface which is going to become code eventually,
just do it in
like
code.
Should we just do it in code?
It's kind of like if you really think about Figma, it's kind of a weird thing.
It is a weird,
that Figma is a software design tool that makes vector images.
It is weird,
and then it like figures out how to like export it.
Everything's just pixels. Our friend Tyler, he's tweeted a bunch about how everything is just pixels, and like screenshots are software and all these things where, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just kind of jumping between mediums, but why couldn't the Figma file just be the thing that you interact with, or why can't you just, design the thing and then start using it?
I think that's the other thing with AI is like, it's going to start like slowly meld together. The things that are not the source of truth, right? Like if you think about like, every company has like a work database where they store all of their employees and their customers, and instead of like having to like model that data in like Tableau, you'll just be able to do it in the source of truth. Or like similar with Figma, like instead of having to design something, send it to an engineer, you just build it in Figma. So that's a weird thing that's gonna happen.
Weird. Yeah, the abstractions and layers just all blend together. I'm curious on your take on like chat interfaces. There's a lot of discourse about like, oh, chat is dead, chat's the worst, but then it's still like the default, I think, for a lot of AI applications. Just like the one that we're making right now, because I guess people are just used to chat. It's like an easy way to have unstructured input output. But where do you see that going?
I think like it seems to be like a really easy way to like just like ask. And or like input and output, like you said. And there are like maybe better ways to do some things, like especially if you have like iteration based kind of things, it could be easier to like see things in more chronological like order where you can quickly switch between things. I think the problem with chat is like if you have to scroll back quite far to get to something, or if like you yourself have to remember context, that it can kind of like break.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like using these AI tools, it works really well, and just the longevity of like the design framework is like been proven, right? So I think it'll evolve to be like almost where, you know, you ask it for something like, what's the weather? And then it's like, instead of just saying what the weather is, it like generates like a weather app. And it's like, you can like change the day of the week, and you can look at like, there's like a beautiful sun. Like, I think so. It starts to feel more dynamic in like the response, but the input could still be just text, or even better, it could just be voice.
Yeah, cue the ad.
Shortening the time from thought to just like having something working.
Yeah, the dynamic UIs or like just-in-time UIs, I think that's definitely the direction that things will go in. I think like Perplexity did it pretty well. They were like one of the first to do it. I remember they'd have like the map component, which would show up if you asked something which is map related. Now I think all the like major chats are doing that, but there's a lot of room there for just, based on what you need in that moment, like spin up some ephemeral interface, work with it for a bit, and then move on to the next thing. I think like on the spectrum between chat and then like infinite canvas, we'll land somewhere in the middle, where it's, you can chat a little bit, but then also have like some representation of the thing at that time. So
but I mean, for now, chat's pretty great.
I mean, chat's pretty good.
It works good.
Gets the job done for most things.
So you're talking about some pretty advanced stuff about everything from recreating liquid glass in Figma, or attempting to, and then, you know, really thinking deeply about the future dynamics of what AI creation looks like and design tools. But going all the way back to when you were first starting, and I know you've had like lots of, you know, you've been entrepreneurial for a very long time based on like all the research I've done on you. I'm curious to go back to your first dollar earned in entrepreneurship.
Oh, wow.
I think you mentioned on a podcast it was like a $5 project. I'm just curious, like what the assignment was.
So for design, the first dollar I earned was for a Call of Duty YouTube wallpaper. So I was like,
been on Wallpapers.
I've been on Wallpapers for a while. There's something there. But yeah, I was making like speed arts, which is like basically, I don't know why people don't do this today. It's a great idea if you need content ideas. You just like draw or like make some art or like design an app, record the whole thing, and then just speed it up and post that. Because people like to watch you create something. And so that was my whole channel. And like every day I would just like make, you know, like some crazy like Kid Cudi, you know, bedroom wallpaper, or like and like add all the crazy like Photoshop effects. And then like someone DM me and they're like, hey, can you make like a Call of Duty like wallpaper for my YouTube channel? Like I'm trying to become a streamer. And they're like, I'll pay you. And I'm like, what? It's great. So they're like, how much does it cost? And I was like, $5. Like, I don't know. That was the highest number I could think of that someone would pay. And then I made it. It probably took me like 3 hours. And they sent me $5 over PayPal. And I was like, wow, I'll never feel this feeling again. Like, it was amazing. So, yeah, I've always been like pretty entrepreneurial. I started a bunch of businesses in college and high school. And yeah, it's those kind of like small layups that like, you know, help you build who you are and you know, shape your career. So
was the speed art on Photoshop, or what were you using?
Yeah, Photoshop.
Okay, nice.
Cracked version of Photoshop.
Oh yeah.
I think it was like what is it, CS3 or something?
CS3, CS4.
Yeah.
CS6 was my big one.
Oh yeah.
Where I did the most.
Did the most damage.
Yeah.
Maybe it's CS4. I remember it was like Photoshop it's all dark mode now. This was like when it was light mode.
Oh wow.
So it's funny if they don't let you change.
Yeah, I was on dark mode maybe a couple of years after.
Yeah. It was
I
a
used
big
to do YouTube intros and
really?
thumbnails and photos back in the day as well. Dude, it was good business.
You could still make a lot, I think, doing that.
For sure.
Especially with AI now. Like, have you seen what people can do where they, like, take a picture and they're, like, holding on to, like, their kitchen cabinet, and they're like, make this look like I'm hanging off of a bus off the side of a cliff, and there's fire behind me, and there's dragons coming down, and then I just, like, so perfectly makes it, and it looks like Mr. Beast. Like, you could just probably make an app that does that. Where, you know.
Yeah. I think the APIs, they've kind of like nerfed it a little bit.
Oh, really?
Especially on faces. So right so far, like I actually tried like a side project using the API, the new image API, and they really nerfed it. And I saw another founder who killed a side project because of the same thing.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's that bad. Like,
why do you think they nerfed
I think it's
it?
just slightly off. It's like super. It's just noticeable enough.
Yeah,
they probably want you on the app on ChatGPT.
Maybe there's a tier. I'm sure there's tiers out there where someone's able to use it.
But I'm sure there's other, models, right? Like Flux or something else. That's they are getting. Yeah, I think there are some other image models that are getting pretty close to GPT.
Have you actually used any of the image creation for what aspects?
Yeah,
is your favorite incorporation of those image?
So
models?
I'll tell you a little bit about a project we did for a client. It was like a gaming client, so they had these chests that once you completed like this mobile game, you got like some coins, you unlock this chest, and there was like a whole group of chests, like silver, bronze, gold, diamond, and they all had to like look the same, and they had to look like almost like slot machine vibe, which like would take a lot of work to like illustrate them or generate different concepts and show that to the client. So what we did was we like made like some very basic, like almost like wireframes of an illustration in Figma, and then we put that into first it was Midjourney, but then we used GPT image, and it created like these beautiful illustrations, and we were able to like show that to the client and be like, okay, like out of these, which ones are you like feel like is the most kind of vibe that you're looking for? And then from that we were kind of able to like refine it and build out like this whole asset collection. So I think like there is like a use case in the process to use like these AI tools to build assets for software.
Yeah.
For sure.
What's the take from some of your clients? Like, do they know that it was AI generated?
No, they don't. I don't think they would care.
Yeah.
I think it's like they just want good, well-designed things. And I think some people probably feel like, oh, that's shitty, you didn't tell them that that's AI. But I really don't think they would care if it was or wasn't. So it really just comes down to like what the output is and can we produce it. But yeah, I think also they needed help deciding too. Right? Yeah, it was like, okay, what do we prompt it with? What are the best ways to prompt? So we haven't been fully replaced yet.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Scary times.
We are hammering away on Robinhood research, but it's not completely out of the question that you've worked with brands of similar stature. But when you were first starting Turbo, what was like if someone did the same thing that you did to want to start their own agency or studio, like were you starting on the side while you still had a job?
I think
what
like
was the actual process to get started?
There's two kind of approaches, right, when you start your own thing. It's like approach one, burn the boats and just like dive in. Hopefully you got some savings, right, and you can just figure it out. That's a really risky approach. I didn't do that, but I know people that have, and it worked out well for them. But the less risky approach is like work on side hustles, and when you're confident about one, and it's actually like bringing in some money, then it's like, okay, well, you're not really like burning the boats. Like, you've got like this like lifeline to go start something. And so whether that's going freelance or building apps on the side, or doing whatever you want to eventually do, start doing it now, and from your 5 to 9 you got some time to work on it every day. So I think there's a huge opportunity just to like get started on things, and you'll feel so much more comfortable when you dive into it too. So we had a few clients, like before I had an employee before I quit. So yeah, I think it's important to like really dive in to things as soon as you can. And so there was never really a time where I was like fully like praying and wishing for a client. It was always just upward momentum, and yeah, we've been really lucky to be able to see the growth that we've had. So yeah.
Was a balancing between starting Turbo and balancing the day job the busiest you've been, or was it like a later inflection point inside of Turbo?
Yeah, I think
time-wise,
if you're gonna start a startup, you can pretty much plan to be very busy, right? And so that's what I, was kind of practicing for by working a day job and then also, doing client work. And I was definitely very busy and maybe one of the busiest times. But I think starting the agency and like getting it off the ground, probably when I didn't have, many designers and I was doing too much work, was when I was the busiest. So the first, several months of that, when we started to get a bunch of, clients inbound and didn't have a big team, it was definitely some long nights and, burning the light on the weekend. So
what was the decision like, going from doing like freelance, this is my own thing, to bringing on the first external person on your team?
Yeah, so I think like one of the benefits of being a designer and running a design agency is like design is a very like communal thing. There's a lot of critiques that are involved, getting ideas, feeling comfortable about like the direction you're going in. And so there was always like a desire for me to just bring on and work with the best designers I could find. Yeah. So I found opportunities to do that as quickly as possible. And so it is like partially because I need them, but also because I want people to, to work with and have fun. And so, yeah, I think we've built a really great team of some of the most talented designers I've worked with in my career. And we're fully remote, so everyone's all over the world. So we work, nonstop, 24 hours a day.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it like to your advantage where the clock's always, cooking, or someone's always cooking?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like we don't have any designers in like Asia or that kind of region of the world, but for the most part, like between the designers in the US and Canada and then also in Europe and the Middle East, like it's going we're going most hours of the day.
Nice.
We don't work on the weekends, but yeah.
Awesome. Was that always the case, like, or was that intentional? Like you mentioned, when you're starting, like it's kind of all hands on deck. I'm sure you didn't take weekends off while you were on your day job. What were the 2 to 3 biggest things that allowed you to have structure in your time? Was it like a personal discipline in your schedule, or was it hiring the right people? Like tactically, what allowed you to have like a lot of people, I feel like, especially agency owners, kind of fall to their client schedule is the reason I'm asking for this. Like, and having the choice to take the weekends off is like something very aspirational and shows your discipline and success as a manager. So I'm curious, like, what were the top 3 tactics that kind of allows you to manage that?
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of it is just like planning ahead, right? So hitting deadlines and not needing to work on the weekends is, that's part of it. But it's also like, having boundaries and really like I'm trying to build this agency not for a sprint for like a couple of years. Like I'm really trying to build like a generational company, and that's a marathon. It takes a long time to do that. So I'm trying to set myself up to not burn out and to be able to do that for a long time. And so if there's sacrifices that need to be had for that to happen, then we're happy to do that. But yeah, I think the team also, some team members like to work on the weekend, and that's up to them if they want to do that.
Yeah. What does the next generation of the agency look like? Is it continued client services to massive scale? Is it one day spinning off products?
Yeah, we'd love to start a product studio. I think that'll be the next kind of foot in the door there. I think these tools are going to be crucial, and design forward products, especially like things that we see in the market that we want to build. We'll start to build them, and we have the team and the resources to do that, and we'll own all of it. So it'll be great.
Is there like an area that you're interested in, or like an industry that you'd love to like have your first?
I love health and wellness. I think there's as a designer and just building software, like you can have such a big impact.
Yeah.
And a lot of these apps, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Duolingo, they do kind of build habits, and people kind of form habits around maybe some addictive natures that psychologists have kind of cracked.
Yeah.
But I think you can use a lot of those same things for good, and help people build healthy habits. So I think I would love to do that, and that that would be awesome to like, you know, look at a Mixpanel database and be like, wow, we improved like, you know, exercise for this huge amount of people. Like that would feel really cool.
Does any particular habit come to mind that you'd want to dive in on?
Yeah, I think starting small. I built like a focus app. So
Nice.
I think, you know, with everything, like it's hard to focus nowadays. So I spent like 48 hours and I built like a little Swift focus app that plays focus music and binaural beats.
I think I saw that when I was at when I saw you at Vital.
Yeah.
At the gym.
Yeah. So that was pretty
cool
fun.
Yeah.
And I think like, yeah, that you can build a great habit to like start something, be productive. And so that's the first thing.
Yeah, there's something special about building things that make the world a better place. It's very easy to do the opposite sometimes. I think, like you were saying, with a lot of like addictive, like a lot of the things you optimize for when building a product are kind of the opposite, to keep people on it and to keep them using the thing. But having some like bigger mission around what you're doing and helping people is always great.
Yeah, and I think they can get into the experience not really realizing that they're, you know, that they're going to build these healthy habits. Like it could be like they want to look better so they can get more dates, right? Like it could be an app that's like about that, but then they ultimately like build this great fitness habit that they're going to keep for the rest of their life. Or so I think, or they just want to, you know, feel better for some reason. So I think you can kind of like you know, paint it in a different position, and like that's what, you know, designers do. It's really sales, right? It's like visual sales and communication. So I think we have a huge opportunity to use that skill to really like, you know, build these great habits. So
I love that.
All right, I'm gonna try to bring it home the next 5 minutes, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, if we can't get it working right now, we can
Yeah.
clean it up and send it over to you to
Perfect.
try out afterwards.
Yeah.
So hopefully it becomes something useful that you guys could.
Happy to also jump on another call to like actually integrate it into your Clay account, or
Okay.
if you whip up your own interface for your internal tool, one that doesn't look as rigid as this one that was one-shotted, can also integrate the same logic.
Are you guys working on any side projects right now?
I honestly haven't for a while. I was working on a couple of like education related things, like math tutoring for my niece in high school. It's like helping her kind of create practice problems and
Cool.
like solve questions that she doesn't know how to answer. That was probably like the last more serious thing that I worked on. Yeah, I haven't been in like a build mode for a while. I feel like I need to. I mean, like day to day I'm testing the product a lot, so I end up like building random things. I actually made like a focus and like meditation app a couple days ago.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it was just like
That's awesome.
quick prototyping and prompting.
I think the education stuff is so cool now.
Yeah.
Especially where like kids are just like talking to the interface, and then it just talks back and is able to teach them stuff. Like that's, to me, will be like a huge unlock for like one-on-one learning.
Yeah, I mean, every kid kind of learns differently. Every person learns differently, and the fact that you have to like follow the exact same structure in a classroom, it doesn't really make sense. And having these fully customizable experiences unlocks a lot. So exciting space. I was actually, I don't know if you're there at the SPC. I think it was about fun or play, actually, like one of the events that happened recently. But there was a demo of like a generated video based on a topic. So you'd enter something you're interested in, and it would create like a few minute long video of someone explaining it to you, and like create graphics for it. And like, I mean, that's just like amazing to me. If you don't like reading or like don't want to sit through like a textbook, to just have something generated in real time based on the specific thing you want to learn about it's exciting.
That'd be sweet. You could also like take it a different direction and think about like, could you build an app that's like Netflix, but like all the movies are made by you, right? So you like kind of prompt the show, and then you're like, you watch the show and you're like, all right, what should happen next? You know?
Do you think that feeds into the whole virtual reality theory, prompt theory? Like if we're prompting our whole world, like a visionary world that we want to like we're at least entertained by. Does that evolve into, once we have virtual reality glasses that are cool looking, that we get to walk in a world that we generate, prefer?
Wow, I've never heard that before. That sounds crazy.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new Google, like the VO
Yeah.
model, like the video model is insane.
Mhm.
Some of the things that it makes.
Yeah.
It's just like mind blowing.
All right. This is the final one.
All right, this is it. It's going to work.
Come on, Vlad.
It's getting started for like the dozenth time today.
Can we actually see some of the reviews though? Can you expand on those?
Negative or positive?
Let's go negative.
All right, so some of the latest negative reviews up here.
Robinhood or
criminals. This is definitely from Reddit. Oh no, Trustpilot. Okay, equally. Okay, Trustpilot seems this. Okay, we didn't get into it, but we can always, filter out certain sources or tell it to focus on certain sites.
Yeah, we could also ask or some design related reviews or UX or like product.
That would actually be interesting to try to craft that prompt properly.
Yeah,
because there's probably like a mix of like. They don't explicitly say design terms, but it's clearly like a design problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, do you know what I mean? Because that's actually something that we see in reviews. It's like people that don't know how to technically describe a technical error that maybe they even caused. Like, do you have like a knack for finding like a review that's about design,
about
but
the feature set or about how it's logically explained to how you use the app?
Like confusing? Is it,
Is
that like a key trigger word?
Yeah, because like people aren't going to say like I clicked this button and it didn't work. It's
the
this
gradient
app sucks.
The gradient hid the flow.
Right.
Yeah, they're just like it sucks. It doesn't work.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking like trigger words.
Yeah.
Positive reviews. Yeah, just got a bunch of Nerd Wallet and Investopedia stuff.
Nice.
Not the best reviews. We could have filtered it. No dice this time.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can take some time after and send over a working version to you.
Very cool.
Probably just like it's like, is it the timeout issue?
It's like a processing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like probably one field is off, and I just need to get it out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll fix it up.
Thanks
Thank you
for coming.
This was great. A lot of fun. Awesome discussion to hear your take on how things are changing in the design world.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for building this for me.
Yeah, of course.
We'll wire it up. Maybe we can do like at least screenshots at the end, like if we finish it before the episode goes out.
Yeah,
for how it actually looks inside of your company.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
Thank you so much for your time, Shane.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, we're running into some API issues, so we decided to quickly work on this after the episode and see what the response would actually look like. So here's a quick look at the working app.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, long story short, it was an issue that just required more code, less vibes. And so this is exactly what the response looks like when you click the research button. It'll go and hit Clay. And then right now, it's not focused on any particular source, but it will grab recent positive reviews and recent negative reviews for the respective company of the prospect. Right now, we didn't focus it on any particular source. But as Shane was mentioning, we could definitely create different agents that focus on the App Store or Reddit, and then have this research response loaded into the chat for the particular prospect in completion. So right now it's just generally across the internet. So all you do is basically, let's say we're in this prospect, we're talking about Robinhood, we just kick off this research button, and then we won't wait around, but in 5 minutes, we'll kind of fast forward. So when the response comes in for Robinhood. Okay, so I mean, fast forward like many minutes down the road, the Clayagent researchers are pretty laborious. So it does take a while for the research to load up, but this is what the message looks like as soon as it pops over from Clay. And yeah, we're going to continue to refine this for Shane and his team. And then hopefully maybe a few weeks down the road, we provide another bigger update for what the very final version looks like, because we definitely need a little bit more work. So yeah, just wanted to show what the successful message looks like.